Here we are once again, ladies and gentlemen, the year is 2020, and this is Cosmic Redemption, the Corey Goode Accountability Project. And over the past week, we have been privileged to receive many insider testimonies, shocking stories, the truth about the false light ascension disclosure cult known as the Sphere Being Alliance and the individual known as Mr. Corey Goode. What we found over the past week is a very, very tangled web of literal lies, literal deceit, and what has been shown time and time again, ladies and gentlemen, to be something almost very much like a disclosure mafia, a force in this soul group that has been coming at people with lawsuits, with lies, with fake blogs, with secret teams of individuals organized in the background to slander people in our community and in certain cases, even assault them energetically, psychically, emotionally, manipulating those who work for him and then taking their money and attempting to silence them legally. We have seen such a tremendously tangled web of lies and deceit on behalf of Corey Goode and the Sphere Being Alliance over the past few weeks that people have been coming out of the woodwork. We have none other than Laura Eisenhower. And for the record, Laura Eisenhower is not involved with Corey Goode in any lawsuits or any sort of litigation. Laura has chosen to come forth of her own choice as a leader in this soul group to begin to tell the truth, to begin to tell the story. And for all those newly awakening souls that are coming into this realm, that are trying to find the frequency of truth, that are trying to understand light from dark and how we get through this crazy ascension and disclosure game, Laura's here to help set the record straight in her own way. And so without much further ado, Laura, first of all, I want to thank you for showing up here. This is a very, very brave thing. There are going to be a tremendous amount of people in this soul group that are going to be greatly, greatly heartened by seeing your face up here at this time, because we really, really need it. And so that said, thank you for being here. How's it going? What do you think people need to know?
Oh, thank you so much, Matthew. And it's so awesome that you're doing this and coming from a place of such high integrity, because this isn't about attack. It isn't about stooping to that level of, kind of going against this individual or getting caught in some sort of divide and conquer thing, which some people think.
That
The
really
thing is,
needs
we're
to be
taking,
stated. Thank you.
yeah, we're taking a step in a place of concern for one another, for this, for the ability for this community to move forward, and for the people that have witnessed it or have seen some of this and have been confused by it to gain some clarity, because it's just like I'm seeing what it's doing to the people.
Yeah.
And I know this is very difficult for them to go through all this. So this is what I feel is necessary because we are all about truth. And it wouldn't be right for us to just brush this under the carpet, because we don't want to see any more people get hurt.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, what we were kind of discussing before, we need to understand that, if his story is true, and I do know a lot of his information is really right on. I think Michael Sala has done a brilliant job capturing the best of his information, the most accurate part of his information, and compiled it into these books. And it connects dots with other research he has done. So I just want to show respect to him, and that not all of Corey's stuff are not truths. And we see this in the world, because, there can be a lot of truth, and then all of a sudden, something happens. So if he indeed is a MyLab, and if it's something else and it's not a MyLab thing, we have to understand that, like, if somebody's pulled into a project at the age of 6, there's a very good chance that they're either a sleeper agent or they have many alters. And I've done interviews with people, and I've worked with clients, one particular named Derek, who has 200 alters. And he said that some of those alters were programmed to play a particular role in these end times, to act as some sort of leader on a spiritual level, and then to pull the carpet out from underneath everybody. And he said, that's what they groom you to do. And it's all about the end times. It's all about, torturing, the multi-generational abuse and ritual abuse in order to, create, more than one altar in order to make that happen. So it seems like he's not the same Corey I used to know. But again, I mean, I feel like concerned for him, and I don't know what's behind him. Something is infiltrating, and it's much larger than him. And we have to be aware of it, because, so many people have, witnessing what's happened is just crazy, because I've really seen it up close and personal. I've done so many events,
Yeah.
spent, like a whole week, in Hawaii, and been to Spain, with Corey and team. But I was always independent. And I was in this field long before Corey came into the scene. And so people who were sort of newbies that got exposed to Corey and saw me associated with him automatically say I'm in a blue chicken cult, right?
Right.
And then there's the other side that if you're not aligned, once you've been exposed as being a colleague of his, if you're not aligned or question the narrative, you're dark alliance. And I'm like, this is nuts. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, and it's really good to hear you say that, because this is once again echoing a sentiment that has come back to us over and over and over again over the past week. This sort of attitude, this literal behavior, this frequency of, if you're not with me, you're against me. It's literally like a Sith thing in Star Wars. It's like you're either you're either with me or you're the enemy, and I will crush you. And it's interesting to hear you indicate that, as also it is very, very interesting to hear about the phenomenon of alters and the manner by which at a certain stage in the game, people that are subjected to certain types of fracturing, which we know at this stage is very, very genuine. It's a literal, real thing that takes place. They can literally be shifted, activated. There's a number of ways by which that change will take place. But if you don't mind, before I go down a weird road, because I'm just going to drive in this weird, crazy neighborhood, take us back to the beginning, because you said that you'd noticed the change as well. Take us back to the start when you first started kind of doing events and you were hanging out around Corey, and there was a positive vibe and things were different. Take us back to, I don't know, what was that, 2016, 17?
Yeah, I think so. We had gotten in contact with each other, and I just really felt his heart and sincerity. And we became, I considered him, a friend, not super close, but it's like, I do events all the time. And I have been for a while. So doing events with him, it's just like, okay, well, this event, he happens to be a speaker. It's just like any event, like, oh, so-and-so is going to be there. So the whole cult thing was always confusing, because I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to events, and I am independent and I present my own stuff. But I started to kind of notice a lot of attention on him, and a lot. And I can understand he has a ton of information, and, he's partnered up with David Wilcock. And I just want to shout out, if David sees this, much respect to you, and an apology to Elizabeth for some of my late night Facebook posts when I just kind of snapped, and I couldn't tell where they were at with the whole thing. So I'm going to leave that to the side, but I just wanted to make a public apology to them, because, I've never said anything about anybody publicly. I've always, it doesn't matter what they're about. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It's just part of like how I roll. I don't like to bash anybody. I don't like to smear anybody. I don't like drama. I just want to keep everything high vibration and all about, mutual love and respect, and appreciating other people's stories, other people's experiences, other people's research, and just having an open mind and staying flexible in my beliefs. So anyway, not to go off on a tangent here, but some of the events though that were specific to like Corey being much more of the headliner, like the Eclipse of Disclosure, Dimensions of Disclosure, and there was another one. And those, the initial ones in the beginning were awesome. But I just kind of started to notice stuff, and I'm like, I'm not really going to get into it all anyway, because, and then there's that whole she said, he said, and I'm like, I don't want to drop down into that, and I don't need to, go into all that. But I guess it was Eclipses of Disclosure. I think that's when Teresa Llanaros was the host, and she did a really amazing job. And then, kind of was getting pulled in a little bit more to some of the administration or some of there was going to be that Halloween party. It was around that time of, I think, the graphic novel coming out. And it just seemed like everything was starting to get hyped up almost into this, it was all about, the money part, and just, and like, he had to be sort of the leader and kind of recruiting people, building his security team, having kind of agents around him, to protect him, and all the security.
Influence.
Yeah. And it's like, okay.
Literally, spheres of influence. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's great. He can afford all that. And like, if he sees it important, he's putting out a lot of stuff that makes sense. So I was, feeling the concern, like, okay, I'm not saying, paranoid or anything, but the first kind of wave of lawsuits when it was connected to the cyberbullying, I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. I've been cyberbullied a lot. I just ended up blocking and ignoring and trying to just manage it. But yeah, if he has the resources and he's able to call that out, yeah, some of it did seem completely out of line, but at the same time, we don't want to feed the trolls, right? So anyway, that first initial, conference, I'm kind of standing on the outside anyway. I'm not getting very involved. I wasn't kind of in the inner circle, and I don't like using that word like in a cliquey way, but I wasn't really in the deeper dynamics of how he was working with individuals on a one-on-one or sort of maybe like more of a group basis, like we saw with some of the production of project, Above Majestic and Cosmic Secret, where, some of those people are being sued now. So when I saw the change that happened to Teresa, I was really, really concerned, but I wanted to give her space. I knew she was going through, something. And then I was just like, what is wrong here? She's super high vibe and this is kind of weird. But again, it's like, I'm so overwhelmed with my own mission that I don't have time to do all this. But I mean, I think most people know I'm here for you. And if you need to reach out, I have your, but I just, we just kind of took a little bit of a break. We've talked recently, but yeah, just noticing all that. And then the lawsuits weren't about the cyber bullies. The lawsuits were against our friends. And so the whole Gaia thing was really weird because I never did anything with Gaia. I think I did an interview though, maybe at Contact in the Desert with Jay Widener, and they maybe put it on Gaia, but I never had, I was never pulled into that. I was never a part of the Corey thing in ways that people thought, because they always like group me with Corey and David. I'm like, we're not really that connected. I mean, I appreciate them. Why am I always being lumped in with these guys? So when the resignation letter came out, I'm dealing with one person, I'll protect her name, sending me all the gem drops, all these frantic gem drops, one being the resignation letter that has to be posted for the safety of so-and-so. It was like urgent coming from the gem drops of these supposed abused employees. Yep. And meanwhile, I'm kind of, having a conversation with him, but he's not pushing me to do anything. I later find out that there might be some involvement with this particular setup, but I don't want to blame him for something I don't have proof of. And I feel very protective over him, even though I had to kind of distance myself, just because that's just my nature. Right. And I just don't want to assume anything or project it until I have all the facts. But all of a sudden, I'm feeling really, really pushed to share this resignation letter, and I have nothing to do with any of this, right? So I share it, and then I'm like, this doesn't feel right. So 10 minutes later or so, I took it down. But Reddit picks it up and posts it. And then, I'm like, oh, shoot.
And then it took off like wildfire over the internet.
Yeah. And so later somebody said, Corey was behind setting that all up. I don't know. So I was just like, I got to just be careful. And that's also what we see in the community, a lot of blame and pointing fingers. And I just don't like, to get into all that unless there's, solid evidence. So I'm not blaming him for anything in regards to that, but it was all really uncomfortable. It put me in an awkward position, and it kind of, created a weird energy between David and Elizabeth and I, but we worked it out at one of the conferences. But now, things are strained because of one stupid Facebook post that I took down immediately. And I've already apologized. And I think it's water under a bridge, but I just, it's like holding all this in, feeling like you can't share. Because if you share, people are like, oh, how dare you? And it's like, there's one kid that was at Dimensions of Disclosure who's like literally insane and so vile, evil to me. And I'd love to mention his name. I can't even remember it, but I'll just say he's got like longish red hair, and he's just like one of Corey's biggest champions. And if I were to say anything, questioning anything about what was going on and deep concern for our community, he would just go ballistic on me and just be like, you're this and you're that. So, okay.
No, so I have seen the same exact thing. It's as literally as if there is this entire group of individuals that are at his beck and call with the wave of a tweet. You yourself are the Dark Alliance. It does not matter what it's about. Suddenly, he's fighting a war against disclosure. And by the way, that includes, you and anyone else that opposes him. But anyway, not to go down a weird road instantly. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, that's when it kind of started. And then, Corey and I had kind of a casual sort of, connection. I was never very, super close, but, going to Hawaii and swimming with the dolphins and spending time together, and knowing that he supported my work and he invited me to these things that he was, headlining, or he would suggest, oh, let's have Laura come. Usually it's the producer that invites me. It wasn't so much Corey, but anyway, we ended up doing stuff and it was fine. The vibe was fine. He's never gone after me, right? But I feel like there's been something subtle going on and I don't have it fully figured out. And I'll tell you when sort of the straw broke the camel's back. I already was, wary, because I know, okay, if he's a MyLab victim, and he was pulled in at the age of 6, we need to understand what we're dealing with here. And why isn't that being talked about more? Why aren't people being a little bit more careful, knowing that you just don't snap out of that? I mean, one could admit they have PTSD, but I have PTSD. I don't have there's a vast difference between
Absolutely.
PTSD, feeling a little bit paranoid about who to trust, and being a part of these projects. I was recruited to go off planet. I was never in these projects. So unless a person's been in the project, one doesn't know. Even Penny Bradley, who's been in these projects, she still does operations. She still is tasked with doing certain things. And then she's got her Penny. And she's a wonderful person. I love Penny. So anyway, but at least she is transparent about what she's dealing with. And I'm not judging Corey for not. I mean, there's so many different projects and this and that. One thing I didn't like is immediately when I did an interview with certain individuals, like, I don't know if, I guess it doesn't really matter. Maybe I won't mention the name, about somebody else exposing their experience in the secret space program. He would say, that person's a fraud. I'm going to sue them. They stole my story. And I'm like, their story is absolutely and totally different. And why does this feel like sort of deep state tactics? We're dealing with censorship, on social media. And if he's all about freedom of speech and taking down the cabal, why are you trying to silence people?
Yeah.
I mean, that first off is inappropriate. Why are you going after people that loved and supported you? And so when I started to see the hurt that people were feeling, I mean, and really like feeling, because I'm super empathic. So I was starting to really feel a lot of pain. And I'm like, they are literally going through the deepest and darkest depressions. Where is the high vibe in this? Where's the unity in the community? Where is the energy of ascension? Why all of a sudden are people becoming suspicious of each other? It's almost like people are being used to not, trust one another. Like who's who? Nobody really knows. And then the public's just completely confused. The public's completely confused. And they're either lumping you into the chicken cult or, like I said, Dark Alliance. So the big one is coming though, as far as what really was just like, whoa. And that was Dimensions of Disclosure.
Yeah, tell us about that. That was a polarizing experience for a lot of people. And I know you had a hard time there. There was a lot of suspicion around something, other things there as well. But yeah, feel free. Go ahead. And
again, I feel like Michael Salla has pulled out the best of his work. And I love Michael Salla and I respect him so much. And I really, it's hard to come forward because it can be easily misunderstood. And I'm willing to take the risk. I'm not here for money or followers. I have a mission, take it or leave it, So I always felt caught in the middle without really being involved. I'm like, why? I feel like, why is this all coming to me? Why is so-and-so sending me this and so-and-so sending me that? And my name is being attached to this and that. And then, I felt the hysteria of the resignation letter, almost like they were like, he wants it to go public. You need to do that, and it's just like, well, what is that? And I felt really set up, and that's fine.
Maybe you got used in that sense.
Well, I definitely know that, but that's why I took it down right away. I'm like, unless I talk to David directly, I don't feel comfortable doing this. I need his permission. He wrote this. I'm not involved. And so I felt bad. I apologize. But Dimensions of Disclosure, holy crap. So it's probably the hardest conference I've ever done. And anybody who's never seen me speak, who might have seen me on the panel, would have been like, what is wrong with Laura? Fortunately, the 2 presentations I did, I got a standing ovation. My talks went well. And I'm so used to doing presentations that, I'm in my flow and everything's fine. But we first get there, and for some reason, it's like previous to the event, I went through something pretty terrible that had nothing to do with him. And if it did, well, I'm not going to assume until I have proof. I just gotten back from China and Australia, and I had the worst jet lag, and we needed to reshoot for Cosmic Secret. The footage that we shot in Hawaii was like actually really good. And then, we have to reshoot. So I should have just gotten rest and said, I'm not really up for it. But I ended up going to Portland to reshoot. And it's a long story, but I ended up having my phone and credit card taken. And I ended up on the streets of Portland for 2 days trying to get it back. And then I befriended this pregnant mother living in this homeless stretch in a tent. And I befriended her, and I was taking care of her children. And then she pulls out my phone. She goes, I feel really bad now. She's like, here's your stuff back. So I was like, that really kind of screwed me up. And I didn't really know how to, like, it brought up a lot of PTSD.
You and I spoke around that time. That was a very, very difficult period. And that is absolutely real. That's absolutely authentic. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but people are going to understand in the future when we begin to understand or begin to unpack the phenomenon of energy transmission and psychic attack. And I'm just going to be, I'll just stop there because everybody's going to get mad at me on YouTube. So go ahead.
Oh,
Laura,
no,
please.
everything you say is so important. And you're just awesome. But that kind of undid me. I already had jet lag and, and I'm trying to watch, like, not drinking. I think everybody knows, I've had my issues with it over the course of time, here and there.
You are real. And I think that is why people love you. It's like, you are the most authentic version of yourself in the public eye. And I'm sorry, I literally just interrupted you once again, but
no.
I think, like, when we look at the mark of integrity of our leaders, they are the individuals who are willing to be so real that, you know what, when we're on the top, we're on the top. And when we're fucked, then we're fucked. You know what I mean? And we are absolutely the most realist version of ourselves. And I think history will show, Laura, that you are absolutely one of the most real. And I say that with the heart, and I'm sorry for getting all graphic, but it's something that I truly, truly mean, because I've seen it time and time again. Those that are authentic, like, we walk a very narrow road and everyone gets this little, oh, damn, okay. Oh, everybody gets it, myself included. So anyway, I'm sorry to be so crazy here.
Oh, no, that's so great. And I really appreciate it. I mean, yeah, I'm not here to be some, figure or to be in a facade. I mean, to me, I'm so sick of that old paradigm world. Why can't we just be real? We're all trying to heal. It's been so difficult for thousands of years on this planet. And why can't we just, how are we possibly going to heal if we can't be open and reveal, our struggles, but also where we have found resources that have helped us. That's why, I built my whole platform around having resources, building community, helping people transition out of, the matrix that's compromising them or forcing them to do things, and trying to raise money for them and everything like that. It's like, and I'm very real with my subscribers, probably to the point where they're like, oh God, if they thought that, like, I was some, I don't know, I'm not ashamed of my flaws, and I'm on a healing journey just like anyone. So, but dimensions of disclosure, I was feeling really triggered, but I had lived in Ventura. So I was facing a lot of memories of a really, really gnarly breakup. And it was just, kind of difficult. And I wasn't fully, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I felt like, man, for some reason I really want to drink. And that wasn't the best move under the feeling of, like, a bit of stress. And after being on the streets, because that was, only like a week and a half previous to that. But I felt a really, really dark energy, not with the producers, not with my friends, not with the vendors, not with a lot of the other speakers. It was like awesome. But, like, my intuitive sense or something in my empathic body was like, man, I'm just in pain. I don't know what to do. And Kevin's just like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm just hanging at the bar having mimosas. Like, okay, I just gonna kind of, like, lighten up
keep
my
keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just trying to lighten up my energies, because I just feel so much heaviness for some reason that isn't the dominant vibe, but something that involved me directly, right? So I feel Corey felt that there was something up with Kevin, because in Spain there was something weird going on. The trip went great. It was one of the most beautiful adventures I've ever been on. But the whole vetting thing, I think, Kevin was totally clear. He has nothing on his record. He's never done, but I think it was sort of like, oh, because Laura was recruited to Mars, she might have a handler. And I thought he knew my story a little bit better, but it just ended up coming back to maybe him being concerned about that. And rumors were spreading around it. But again, I don't have proof that he started that rumor. So I don't want to, say something that I don't have proof of, but it was just a little suspicious. But anyway, so Kevin and I are hanging out. And I, like I said, my talks went fine. But it was like I wasn't grounded and just something was off. And so I kind of just wanted to take the edge off a little bit. And all of a sudden, Kevin befriends somebody who is part of Corey's team, but we didn't know it. We might have seen them together and knew that they were friends, or that he was one of these event goers, but we didn't really know who was on his team. I mean, we know a few of them, and they're obvious because they wear their security uniforms. But But anyway, so this guy is just totally befriending Kevin, and they're becoming really good buddies. And they're even crying about their childhood, and they're just like forming this bond. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's so nice, you know? And then, you know, the next day comes and we're just kind of hanging out, and we go back to the bar, and, you know, I'm just having fun hanging out with people that don't mind having a drink here and there. And it wasn't, you know, too much to the extreme, except I just want to acknowledge the fact that I was drinking and not leave that out of the story, because I know people saw that, and I'm not, you know, proud of it, especially, you know, I try and be moderate. And again, the stress of it all and overcoming the Portland thing, it just brought up all my PTSD.
Yeah, man.
So anyway, the second day, sorry for all the extra details.
No, please be real. This is why people love you. Seriously. I mean, honestly, this is authenticity. Like, look, guys, here's what's up, man. People go through some shit out there. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Yeah, I've got some crazy stories, but this isn't, we're not going to go into those. But anyway, so the second day, the guy shows up again, and it's just like, yo, you know, and they're hanging out, and he keeps asking him, what do you think of Corey Goode? And so, you know, Kevin didn't really say much, and you know, and then it's like he keeps asking, and I think it was either the following day or that particular evening, and after he had a little bit to drink, and he felt safe with this person because they had bonded, he told him exactly what he thought, and it wasn't something that Kevin would ever have spread or done to hurt Corey at all. It was just okay, it's like, all right, now we're friends, and this is confidential. This is what I really think. So without Kevin knowing, he's recording him on his phone and then sends it back to Corey. And then Corey writes me, a rumor starts to spread that Kevin's my handler. And then Corey explains that he felt that he was a security threat. And I respect that. And he apologized. And if it was him really writing it, he said, I love you. And I said, I love you too. And it's okay. And so I wasn't, you know, and I'm not against him. This is not a smear on him. We're talking, there's something behind all of this that is dangerous, that has hurt a lot of people. And it's probably freaking hurting him. He's been hurt since he was a kid by these other things, right? So, you know, he needs to heal and be okay. And so, you know, Corey, we care about you. A lot of us do. This is just, so anyway.
I think people need to hear that. Thank you. And I'm sorry to interrupt that, but that's a point that needs emphasis. When people look back on the saga of the Sphere Being Alliance and Corey Goode, and once again, we're not talking about the testimony or the projects. We're talking about is the personal behavior that in this case was so suspicious. It was so, and I'll just say it, it was devious to the extent that they hired their security guards to go drum up a conversation with your husband and record it.
Without him knowing.
Let's just see what this guy says. I want to see, are you real? I mean, that level of manipulation and just underhanded, I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous. And yes, I too understand the need for operational security. Absolutely, 100%. But when you go about it at a conference of people that are a part of this soul group for ascension, you know, or disclosure, or yes, whatever new age term you want to add to it. Because I know a lot of people like to talk about that as well. But whatever it is, people are there for the purpose of truth and healing and, you know, learning about what's really going on in the world. And the very top headliner of that conference is sending out his security guard to be like, I want to see if Laura's got a handler. I'm gonna find out. I mean, just that level of inward deception and suspicion, to me is of incredible concern for anyone that's putting money or time or putting their energy into this person. And so anyway,
yeah.
Pause there. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, please. Everything you share is important. It's a conversation too. So it's like, Corey, I've known you for a lot of years. He's like, yeah, I probably should have just, or I'm sorry, I didn't come to you first, but we just felt he was a security threat. And, you know, my husband's always got protection because he's sort of like a security person. Like he's trained and he's got, well, I don't mean trained, but he's got, you know, licenses to carry, you know, certain, you know, things in the event that we get attacked, you know, because he knows in this field.
He knows how to handle himself, basically.
Exactly.
He knows what to do.
And he felt really called after, you know, just sort of being exposed to me since 2011 to, you know, really help me out when I was going through the worst hell on earth. He just had my back like nobody's business. And we became really, really good friends. And And he's just the purest and sweetest and kindest person ever. So, you know, and I know the energy signature of a handler. I wouldn't say I've ever had a handler, but I did have, I experienced plants coming into my life to trip me up. And so I can understand that. And so I agree with what you're saying, but in, you know, as I was kind of going through it, I kept making excuses for him because I just wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. And then it just got worse because after the event, you know, I just decided to just block our ability to have any more communication. And it's just because I need space from this. It's just, I don't know what to think. And this was sort of a little bit too much. If you really know how to vet people, I think you'd be able to figure out pretty quick who's a handler and who isn't, you know, without having to do something that deceptive. Because the whole evening of crying about childhood and this guy's manipulating him and filming him later is just so gross to me and inappropriate, like you said. So after all that, that's when it was like, and I think maybe a couple of weeks after, and then the lawsuit against Adrian, Leon, and Roger, all three of them who I love and respect so much, you know, and what I see them do for this community and how hard they've worked and what they've done at these events and producing these events and how they are some of the best producers, or Adrian, that I've done a lot of conferences. She is the best of them all. She has given me the financial, I don't want to say, how do you put it? She has given me the financial or honorarium on a speaker level that I've never received before. Absolutely generous, totally kind, totally professional. And on top of it,
she Roger made good on her word, right? Like she followed through, right?
Highest level every time. I've done tons of events with her. We've been friends for a long time too. And Roger, I just adore Roger, and he's so talented and he's been such a great friend, and he's, you know, been there for me. And then Leon is just great. We had so much fun in Hawaii, and it's like, what? I'm like, this is about money and you're blaming them for all this stuff. And so I'm just like confused. I'm like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. And I'm certainly not going to say anything publicly. You know, I'm kind of knowing though, that there's going to be a time where we're going to all have to probably do what we're doing right now.
Yeah. But what did you think to yourself though, when you saw his whole team quit, when you saw everyone not too long ago, they all jumped ship, boom, 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 one after the other. I mean, at least now, like with that hindsight, like what were you thinking at the time? You know, like,
well, I sort of posted something publicly, trying to word it in the best way possible. I was feeling like it was so hard to word it in the best way possible because it's like I kind of snapped, and you know, again, I took it down not too long after. But Renee Armenta posted something, you know, around the same time, and he was very much a part of that team too. So seeing all these people drop away and all this sort of hurt and all this sort of like Corey's the victim, it's like there are way too many people. The list is getting really long now, and this is out of control. And at this point, it's just like, yeah. So Stina Bobina did a brilliant job of creating videos about what took place at Dimensions of Disclosure and how much Adrian was being honored and cheered on for producing the event. But for some reason, he's suing and on all the copyright stuff too. And so it's a bummer. I'm not saying that, like, for anybody who signs up with his courses, we're not trying to turn you the other way. We're not trying to screw him over, but we love you and we are concerned, you know, and this is our duty if we're going to be truthers. We're here to expose stuff that is based in, you know, our experiences, based in something that feels necessary for the best of reasons in order to protect you. This is not some gossip thing. This is not just some difference of opinion. This is
it's gone way bigger than that. It's been way past that. Too many people, too many lawsuits, too many threats. Like I'm going to say it as well, and you guys are going to find out in the future. Too many women. And so, anyway, I'm sorry to you know, jump in there and get weird, but yeah, go ahead.
No, you don't ever have to say sorry.
I do it anyway. It's just kind of my thing. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. So the reason I sort of included David and Elizabeth in one of my posts that I took down right away was because I'm like, why aren't you, you know, if you're going to work so closely with him, you know, why aren't you saying anything? You know, if, you know, and why are you still working with him? So there's probably something going on around that I just don't know or understand, but I'm not like, you know, I hope they're okay. And I, you know, I spend so much time feeling bad about, you know, my little like, ooh, could have done that differently and this and that. Yeah, there became a breaking point at Dimensions of Disclosure where it's like, yeah, it just really all came to a head as far as what he had done to others and what I felt used about when it came to some other stuff. And then, yeah, that, you know, was disappointing. So is that enough to want to be angry or go against him? No, that's why I'm not. But what I've seen and witnessed with everybody else on top of what I've been through as well, you know, even if I hadn't gone through anything with him, I would still have your guys' back, because every single person that he's created a lawsuit with or given a problem to, or at least a big handful of them, I just have too much love and respect for. And I'm doing this because I want them to know that I have their back, and I want to, and I'm here for truth. Whatever ramifications come along with it, I'm willing.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. To those that have been harmed by Corey Goode and the Sphere Being Alliance, we see you, we hear you. The reason why we are here as individuals in this soul group is to begin to right great wrongs, to begin to tell the truth, to bring dark to light. This is part of our process of awakening as a group to understand, okay, guys, you know, maybe we were wrong, you know, and many of us, as we go through the process, especially of this series, it is a thing. A lot of us have come to the conclusion where we were like, you know what, we had the wrong idea. And granted, a lot of people saw it from the start, you know, props to all you guys, but, you know, and there's also some of us here that have been playing the long game, and you need to understand how that goes and what that actually means. And so, you know, all that said, we are coming to a conclusion as a community that I think we can no longer stand for this type of predatory behavior as a soul group, as a family that is truly here to understand this ascension and disclosure. I think it is time that we say enough is enough. And so, you know, all that said, Laura, go ahead. Is there anything else that you want to say? Is there anything you want to say to Corey or any of the people that are buying into this? Do you have any message for them?
Absolutely. Okay, so we just had the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. We're still very much in that energy and will be for a while. And it's amazing the timing of this. Some people feel like it's a sabotage. Oh, I can't believe you guys are putting this out there around these times just to drop our energies. It's like, no, this is about truth. And this is about, you know, what's important, because you know what? We're dealing with a deep state cabal. We're dealing with trying to take down child traffickers, human trafficking rings, pedophilia, satanic ritual abuse. We're here for disclosure. We're here to expose what we haven't been told or taught. We are here to uplift humanity. We're here to unite and be like team light. I keep calling it. I don't know what, well, that's not a bad, you know, term. Team light, right? And come together. You know, I've always known since I was a kid, you know, the whole unity thing is like humanity building the immune system and being able to, you know, detach and unplug from the controllers and all the manipulative tactics that they've used to keep us dependent on them, that we are going to rise up and inspire people to say goodbye to that, because they're able to see the hidden elements that operate behind it. And that is the priority. And we're still doing that, and whatever it takes. And this is a part of it. So this is why we're doing it, because we, all of us that feel this is important, hold that deep in our heart, and it's our mission, and there's nothing that can stop it. And no outer force, no predator, no infiltration or attack is going to get in our way. And this is proof of that. And we'll just continue to expand and grow together and strengthen our bonds and our connections with mutual love and respect, and inspire other people to step into their missions and really switch the lights on. And I pray that Corey can turn around and, you know, join. This is not about rejection or abandonment. It's like, let's all hold ourselves accountable if we've been compromised. Let's stand for truth, and let's be willing to heal where we may have fallen into, you know, some sort of either negative ego behavior, or fallen into, you know, being compromised so that we can all help each other be uncompromised. So that's kind of my last thing is, and that's the most important thing to me. And, you know, when I feel like this fracturing of our community, I mean, I have to admit, like it broke my heart. And I've talked to a lot of people that feel really affected too, you know, and it's like, we don't have time for depression. We're here to raise a vibration, right? We don't have time to feel this unbelievable grief. So, but it's all a part of the process to, you know, work through it and acknowledge it. So I've acknowledged it, and that's, you know, why I've wanted to say more. The timing wasn't right. And it just seemed perfect that you created this so that it's on more of a community level. Cause it's like, it weighs on you. Like, what do you do with this? It's like, you can't say anything, but you want to say something, it slips out, and then you have to bring it back. But it's like that trust. I held this trust that one day it's all going to be revealed and it's going to be the proper timing. Can you believe it was on the solstice? I mean, you've been doing, so yeah, that's kind of my final, you know, piece. And just to Corey, like, you know, you play a really big role in this community and you influence a lot of people. And we just, you know, hope you just drop all of this and make it right. Do the right thing. You know, people don't need to be spending thousands of dollars in lawsuits when we're dealing with masks and all these other things. This is what really upsets me, is like all this energy is going into lawsuits, the energetic drain that comes with it, when we need to pull our powers and energies and intentions together to collapse, you know, this dark agenda that is literally getting heavier and heavier all the time. We don't have time for this. That's our priority, is not to be suing each other and creating division in a community that has a responsibility to the world to lift us out of this terrible New World Order agenda and dark cabal evil. So
yeah, absolutely. My God, thank you, Laura. Thank you for bringing it. Thank you for being real. Honestly, thank you for being true and authentic and walking the actual walk as a warrior for truth. And I say that with sincerity, because we all hear those terms, those like spiritual new age buzzwords, you know, it's just like they get thrown around. And the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, in this, you know, this little soul group, not too many people have seen the real example of a spiritual warrior and what it looks like when someone is really walking the talk. And so we have one here with us here today. Thank you very much, Laura Eisenhower, for being here and being a part of this project. And you guys have heard it here. Literally, the whole community at this stage are speaking out against what we are seeing, this incredible wave of deception, of litigation, of lies, of targeting, of slandering, of secretly recording, of psychic attacks. The web has become so incredibly tangled and deep that we are at the stage, ladies and gentlemen, in which it is time for Corey Goode to just begin answering some questions. And that's all we're asking. It's time for healing. It's time for truth. And for those of you guys that have been a part of this process, we truly, truly thank you for keeping an open mind and for sharing these videos, for helping us get the word out about bringing dark to light in the disclosure community. And so it has been a windy road. Laura, I want to thank you once again for the last time for being here. And we will say it for the record, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on the Earth plane in the year 2020. My name is Matthew. This is the Forward Action Committee, a council for truth and justice, for setting right great wrongs. And we are honored. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you for all you're doing and for just taking this step. You're amazing. I love you guys. I love you. Thank you for having me.